Welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is Roger Strauch, who is not a new name to Armenia. He's here usually in various capacities. He's a businessman, a venture capitalist who worked heavily in the IT world in the early years in Silicon Valley, and now is supporting companies that are into clean tech, and we'll ask him to explain that. Roger is also the founder of the Paros Foundation, which is run by Peter Abadjian, and this foundation works to carry out specific projects throughout Yerevan and Armenia, helping children, helping communities help themselves. Roger, thank you for being with us on CivilNet. Roger, you're not new to Armenia. When was your first visit?
My first visit was as the son of my father in 1970, and it was a very exciting opportunity offered by Artem Alekhanian. And Dr. Alekhanian invited our entire family because he had a close relationship with my father, who at the time was chairman of Harvard's physics department. And as a scientist, they got to know each other very well and had a very high regard for one another. And Dr. Alekhanian decided to take a bold move and invite an entire American family, 4 of us, to visit at the height of the Cold War. And so as a 14-year-old kid, I had a chance to visit Armenia. It was terrific.
And that was way before your wife, Julie Kulhanjian, helped you continue that relationship.
That's right. I met Julie as a graduate student at Stanford University, and of course, because of our great partnership and marriage, she has supported all of this work in Armenia. And
your work in Armenia is at least of 2 kinds. You established the Paros Foundation, and you'll tell us about that. But you were also telling me that, especially in the recent period, you're also doing something else, particularly in the IT world. Tell us what you're doing.
Well, I've had a terrific opportunity over the last several years to meet more and more entrepreneurs, IT entrepreneurs in Armenia, who are growing and running businesses which I think are world-class. I think that young Armenian business people are running profitable businesses, developing software for other companies, now beginning to develop their own intellectual property, and I think are succeeding and building businesses that deserve the same reputation as businesses built in America or Europe. And I'm seeing more and more, from a half a dozen to now dozens, and I believe there will be dozens of very capable, well-run, world-class software development businesses, and I think it will be well over 100 such businesses very shortly.
And you're saying that they're not just fulfilling orders for outside companies, they are creating intellectual property. What does that mean?
They're creating their own products. They're creating products that they can own and they can take advantage of and distribute in the world marketplace. Because of how technology is developed now, you can, with all of the tools and services available, you can develop a product in Armenia and quite efficiently distribute that product into the world marketplace. And young Armenian engineers, both males and females, are taking advantage of that opportunity. And we are seeing a real example. One of the most successful apps in the world just happens to be built in Armenia. It's called PixArt. It's primarily an Android app, and increasingly it's getting iOS or Apple-related downloads. But it's a world-class app, and it's developed entirely here in Armenia, and I think an example of what we see in the future.
So when you say you mentor these young entrepreneurs, what is it that they find that you have that they need?
I think I serve mainly to remind them of things that they already know. And to that extent, I'm an alter ego. I am just helping remind them that take advantage of the fact that you are forced to be capital efficient in this country. There isn't a lot of money available to develop businesses. Quite frankly, in America, the best businesses are generally developed with very few dollars. And that's by necessity it's happening here, but it immediately creates the right culture. I remind them to work on projects that have large markets, not small markets. Not just an Armenian market. They may test their ideas in Armenia, but they can develop things that have global market potential. And that you care deeply about the quality of their people. They should not only hire smart people, people that are smarter than themselves, but to also help train people. And that they should develop technology. They do enough homework to make sure that technology is as good as, if not better than, other technology in the world. And they can do that. The intellectual power is here.
The breadth, the scale of this pocket in the IT industry is how big? You said there are a couple of dozen now?
Oh no, there are probably dozens, approaching 100 fairly successful businesses. There's certainly dozens of successful, profitable software development and software service businesses in Armenia. And, but in and of itself, that's not the only impressive thing. When I meet the entrepreneurs now, they understand the world market, the world technology base, so much better than they did even 24 to 36 months ago. So this is a world-class talent pool now. And when we see successes, they will inspire other successes.
Do they have any, I suspect they speak to you possibly more honestly than they would speak to us on camera or even to, you know, government officials. Do they specify specific sectors, specific needs that if only we could meet? Education, PR, I don't know.
Sure, actually they're very clear. The whole world needs more well-educated engineers. Microsoft has over 6,000 open jobs that are not filled for engineers alone. Interestingly enough, in Armenia, there are more job opportunities than there are engineers to fill them. So they would ask about how to go about training and how do we encourage more talent to come into this pool of human resources. And then the other thing is once they prove that they can satisfy one customer, say in Europe or in America, they understandably, I understand how they find it difficult to find other customers. So how do we find more customers? We've proven ourselves, Roger, how do we find more customers? And so we discuss various marketing techniques to do so.
These are things that can be learned, this kind of knowledge can be transferred. In other words, you can explain and describe and they can move with it, or does it take deeper roots, a broader structure, more institutional support?
Sometimes it simply takes encouragement, the language, knowing the language, if they're marketing in America, knowing English, if they're marketing in Germany, knowing German, to not underestimate the importance, the criticality of knowing the other market's language is very important, and also being bold enough to, probably Armenians need to be more aggressive in introducing themselves. I find that they could be a little bit more self-confident based on their own, already their own accomplishments, and a little bit bolder in how they go about introducing themselves.
Do you think you're helping grow that middle class that we keep saying we don't have?
Well, I don't think I'm doing it. I think that the young Armenians are doing it. Again, I cannot overemphasize the accomplishment of starting and running profitable businesses. They are paying their own salaries and the salaries of anywhere from a half a dozen to dozens of young professionals, good solid salaries that enable young people here to have a lifestyle that quite frankly is comparable to my young son who will be working in New York City, whose salary will be much larger and whose savings in New York City will be no higher than any Armenian here. So they are learning how to run profitable businesses, and I think that, if you will, young professional middle class is already on the upswing when it comes to IT.
Do they know about your other life, the philanthropist?
Yeah, I don't spend an enormous amount of time, but they know, and I want them to know that I do this work, and quite frankly, I think as they become more successful, and if I'm an effective advisor, I hope they will give their time and their resources, their money, their help to Paros Foundation in our work throughout the nation. We are now serving many thousands of people. And so there's no contract, but I hope that we will earn that.
Tell us what Paros does. The model is different from other philanthropic organizations.
Well, Paros started out, frankly, I started visiting actively in Armenia about 13 years ago. And we started out, before Paros existed by name, we started out by looking for NGOs that we thought were led by very capable people that were trying to make a difference. So the first one we found was Paros Choir and the associated Unison organization that educates the nation on the capabilities and the opportunities that disabled can offer the country.
They're wonderful. We've had them here over New Year's, singing and participating in the New Year's celebrations.
The music of angels. And so we found and supported them very early on, and that's been a privilege. And then we found other NGOs like Manana Youth Center and Gohanj Children's Center and Vanatsor Fine Arts Museum to support, because they are led by very capable people who want and need help, but can make very good use of modest resources. And so we supply sometimes a new building for these people, sometimes in addition operating funds, and we try to help them to learn how to attract other financial resources to their cause. So we have moved, and so we have a half dozen selected NGOs that we support, and then we've more recently moved into looking for medium to small size projects to upgrade classrooms or bathrooms, or put new shoes on the feet of kids in rural villages, or renovate a medical clinic. And our value proposition is simple. We agree to pay all the overhead expenses associated with projects, and so when donors who come to us to support a project, all of their money goes directly to the project. That model seems to be working.
It's very interesting, the different examples that you gave. You know, everybody seems to understand remodeling a bathroom or remodeling a classroom. But when you talk about shoes on children's feet, I think that people don't understand the severity of that need.
It's quite frankly shocking and disturbing, as it would be for anybody anywhere in the world. But there are a lot of kids in this country, and as there are in others, but we focus on this country, that do not have. And the other thing we're doing this week is giving instruction on dental care, new toothbrushes, and a supply of toothbrushes per family, and toothpaste for a year. But very basic needs, and people who do not have the economic resources or to have fresh new shoes. And I'm afraid there's too many of those people in Armenia right now, and that needs to change. And in our own little way, we've created a relationship with a major shoe manufacturer. So tens of thousands of shoes will be distributed by Paros Foundation by under the direction of Peter Abajan, who's a fabulous manager of this foundation. And he has recruited, for example, just as we speak, a dozen young Armenian Americans from LA and San Francisco to help distribute these shoes throughout the country. And there's a basic need, and quite frankly, it's an emotional challenge for everybody to do this project.
I remember years ago, I don't know what the current number is, but it used to be 14,000 children did not go to school in Armenia because they lacked shoes and just basic clothing. So this really is a more severe need than one might think.
It is, and then we meet families whose parents have been through a lot and quite frankly are dejected. So Peter has to go through a great deal of trouble to help the mayors of each town and the school principals actually get people to come and participate in this in an organized fashion. So a lot of work to put on the shoes is ahead of our bus arriving or our minivan arriving. It's just getting the town to organize itself. And they are so delighted, the kids, and very appreciative of what we're doing. We're very fortunate. And
there's a service program now as well.
Yes, we have 12, 19, 20-year-old kids who are taking their summer, and their families support this by paying Paros Foundation so these kids are paying to serve. And we have a dozen of them going around the country, literally sanding walls and painting walls of classrooms, and sizing kids' shoes, and quite frankly cleaning a lot of dirty feet as they do. So, and are putting in their time for 1 month in service of Armenia, and of course in return they're learning a lot, and their bonds to Armenia and their sense of being Armenian, I think, is strengthened.
Well, this conversation has just demonstrated that it is possible to understand and believe in the big picture and the big mission, but really get down on the ground and do the very specific sorts of things that you're doing at both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's exciting to be doing grassroots work. It's where I think one learns the most. And as we address many global issues in the world, I think this is one way to learn about how to make a difference.
Thank you, Roger Strauch.
Thank you, Salpi.
And thank you for following us on CivilNet.